from Janice in a myriad of ways. So onward and upward, and the best to our dear friends. And again, it won't be the last of what you're hearing from them. Our bead family is a big family, so we continue on. But let me flash. I always say that, let me flash, and people are all like, "What happened?"
Right.
Miranda always laughs at that. So let me just share with you here. There's so much to click around on. Sorry. StreamYard, which is our wonderful platform that we use to stream on. There's so many places to click. So this, my friends, is the beginning of our honed and much awaited masterclass series, Pearl and Bead Knotting. Episode 1, there's going to be 5 episodes with Janice and I. And it is the first Wednesday of every month. Now, today we're going to go over the basics. And if you go over to our masterclass tab over on our website, and I can share my screen and show you folks that later. We've got the whole outline up there for the 5 weeks, so you can mark your calendars to make sure you don't miss it. But today, Janice and I are going to talk about essential tools and materials. We're going to talk about needles. We're going to talk about thread selection. We're going to talk about types of Endtips and their uses, including French wire, or also known as bullion wire. And we're going to give you the secret to cutting apart a strung necklace and preparing it for restringing. Janice is also going to talk a little bit about measurements and the length for your pieces. But before we get started, I'm going to add our other screens. Let me move. I know so much. Let me move it all around here. There we go. Look at that wealth of beauty there in front of us. Janice, why don't you talk a little bit about the history of the bead shop and pearl knotting? I'm going to link in the comments, and I'm going to also list it in the episode notes later, the link to your original pearl knotting handout.
Okay. So Liz mentions that we went online that we've been online for since 1992. That we've not 1996.
96.
Okay. But when I first opened the bead shop in 1982, I was taking over my mother's little antique shop where she sold beads. And the first class that we ever taught was pearl knotting back in 1982. And I was actually the worst student, Kate. I went through 4 instructors who tried to teach me their methods. And it was only when I sat down with Rita Lee, who turned out to be one of our most instrumental designers and one of my very dear friends. And she said, "Why don't you try it this way?" And all of a sudden, this light bulb went on. And I said, this is how to do it. And I can teach other people how to do it. So the first class we ever had at the bead shop, which was 42 years ago, was pearl knotting. And so the joke that you and I have had over that period of time is that I have always said pearl knotting and stringing are the backbone of jewelry making. You always say it's wire.
I do always say it's wire, and you say it's pearl knotting, but they really are both, for sure.
Right? And pearls have a special place in everyone's heart and where they sit in the bead studio and how we feel when we look at pearls. I always say that I don't know how the harmonic convergence but we all were born with this notion that we can't ever restring pearls, that we can't touch pearls. I had a student who once said, "Oh, they're not beads, they're pearls." And,
Right.
and to get to the point where you're comfortable stringing them, knotting them, designing with them, enjoying them, we don't want them. It's like the quilt that you made into a jacket, Kate.
Mm-hmm.
There's there's a way of going, well, I can't cut that necklace up. I can't cut those pearls up because this is how my grandmother wore them. But they're not being used, they're not being worn. And it could be because they're the wrong length. Um, the knots are loose and you just don't feel comfortable with it. They could be old glass ones, and some of the outer coating is chipping off, and you don't know what to do. There's just a lot of different reasons why that we just keep putting it off.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this series of classes is going to be about be in the moment, get those pearls in your hands, get comfortable with them. Let's end in June with you being really confident and comfortable with pearls. They are special. They are one of the only organic beads on earth. You know, there's amber, there's coral, and they're pearls. That's it. They're living. They're
Mm-hmm.
living organic um, components. So I guess that's what I want to say.
Yeah, I love it. I love that you said all that. Now, as you're saying that, let me do my little wizardry here. Here we go. There we are. And I'm gonna let me move us around. There we are. Um, we've got a couple of other things to share before we first jump in.
Okay.
As I was getting ready for the show, and Janice is always so patient with me because, before the show, I'm always rushing around trying to do 10 different things. Well, this morning I thought, in honor, and you can see what I'm doing here, I'm making them in honor of our inaugural masterclass with Janice and I together. I am doing a viewer giveaway, not unlike I did on Saturday Stitchin' for the quilt pieces for this coat. I went into my Pearl Vault, and let me highlight this, which is vast, my friends. And I thought, I have these strands. They're old pearls. They're blush Baroque pearls. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to share them with you. So today, in honor of this inaugural masterclass, if you make an order on beadshopdotcom, put pearls in the order notes. And I am making up little bags. I'll toss one of these bags in your order. So my friends, if you already made an order and you're like, wait a minute, I'm watching this live, I want my pearls, just shoot us an email over at info@beadshop or put it in the comments here, and I can gather those and I will add the pearl note to your order. But this offer is valid today only and only to our viewers. It's not in our newsletter. I'm not posting it on social. It's just for you folks. And while supplies last, I'm 99.9% confident that I will have a pearl kit for everyone who wants them. Don't worry. I've got a few of these little strands stashed away. You can see I've already started to make them here. And as Janice was chatting, I already made my earrings. So I'm going to put them on right now. So that's your little gift for today for joining us. Now, let's, I guess, start at the beginning, JP. Let me put this, our little slide up here.
Mm-hmm.
We want to start by talking about essential tools and materials, right?
Mm-hmm.
What it is that you need to pearl knot. We had a question in the comments about the pearl knotting tool. But But let's talk a little bit about tools.
Okay. So, do you want me to?
Yeah, why don't you jump in?
Okay, so I'll just go through my own list that I have, and the first thing I'm going to think of is that I need some pearls, and maybe Kate, you can show your desk. I could show.
Yeah, here we go.
Yeah. So pearls. The one beautiful thing about pearls, besides how gorgeous they are, is that they are one of the only gems that has a very consistent hole. When you get to gemstones like sapphires or rubies, or the semi-precious like aventurine or garnets, the holes can vary. The more expensive the gemstone, the tinier the hole, because they're sold by weight. And nobody wants to drill a hole into a sapphire, have so much of the sapphire on the factory floor, and then weigh it and sell it to you for less than if they had made a really tiny hole. So as we go through this, is it 5 or 4 weeks?
5 weeks. Mm-hmm.
We're going to be seeing that, oh boy, there's so much variance with the hole size, with gemstones and glass and metal and blah, blah, blah. But pearls are pretty much consistent. For very tiny pearls, they're very small. But for regular sized pearls from about 6 millimeter up, they're really pretty. I'm so sorry, I'm getting over a cold. They're really pretty consistent. And so if you're just going to string pearls, you can be fairly confident that all of your pearls are going to be drilled consistently.
Mm-hmm. And one of the things, JP, and I'm going to show my screen here just real quick for you. A few of the things that I feel are must-haves are, and this was in our newsletter this morning, this is what we call the knotting tweezer, the pearl knotting tweezer. You call it the unknotting tweezer.
I do.
For sure. This awl, we're going to talk about using the awl. This caliper, and I'll use it. I just put my earrings on, but let me show you. I'll use one of these little gift bags. You were saying about pearls being different sizes and things like that. Having a digital caliper to measure your pearls. And note that the Baroque pearls, they're going to be blush, they're going to be sisters, not twins, right? They're not going to be exactly the same that you get, but they're going to make a beautiful set of earrings. These are ear wires that we're going to start selling very soon, but I'm going to just toss a couple in your little bag as well. But a bead caliper, when you're measuring your pearls, usually we measure from hole to hole. So that's a 12 millimeter. And then we measure side to side. That's about 10 millimeters. So if you don't have an electronic caliper, I think it's really important to have one. You also need a good tape measure like this. And let me pull my board back a little bit. We have a lot of different boards that we carry. Mm-hmm. I am really into right now our bumper boards that we carry. Because this one is a nice big surface. It's a kind of a rectangular one. We also have the round one, but this is perfect for your lap, right? To bead on your lap or a tray on your lap. So, and it has a nice cushy, smushy surface to it as well. So, so those are some of my my have-tos. I also am a big fan of the Zuron thread and cord cutter. Now, this Zuron, it's a little hard to see, but right here on this, let me see if I can get in a little bit right here with it. On this thread and cord scissor, and we've got them coming back in. They were on back order for a little bit. Janice just got them in. They're coming. So put yourself on the notification list for these guys if you don't have them yet. One side is smooth like this, and the other side is serrated. And the beauty of that is, like, let me grab a spool of silk. But really anything from fireline to silk. The serrated, what I always do is I cut with the serrated edge down like this, so it grabs onto my thread, and then I'm able to clip. This is, I think it's superior. I have a couple of them. We also have the old school thread snips, which I love. I've got a pair right by my sewing machine. They're great. But this is gives a good clean cut, just like Annie here is commenting. It's a great on thread, and it gives that super clean cut for that. We also have our big bead design board, the ultimate design board, JP, that I know you love and I love as well. We also have these little scoops, the triangle scoops. So the beauty of pearl knotting is that you don't need a lot of hand tools, because your hands really are going to be the main tool that you use. Okay.
Yeah. So if I'm going to post I'm going to post the link in just a sec to the pearl knotting handout. But there are
I linked it already, Janice, above.
Good. Okay.
Yeah.
So there are all kinds of ways of knotting, but the way that I learned, I ended up calling the plane train boat method. And that one is where you don't need any tools. You can pre-string all of your pearls before you get on the plane. You don't have to worry about them falling off your tray. You don't need triangles. And you just, as you would see in Chinatown, you would actually watch yourself pulling one pearl up at a time and knotting as long as you want to go. So that's the method that I have used to knot and to teach over the years. But you can use an awl, you can use a toothpick, you can use an actual knotting tool. But that's what I like, is the one that they won't be absconded from you before you get on the plane.
That's right. And we're going to show, as we work through this, we're going to show some different methods. Some people I love that hand knotting method, the tool free. I also have a couple of really great tricks that I've shared with you before, using the different types of tools. So we're going to look at that.
Your method is great, Kate. I love your method. I mean, you can just use a toothpick.
You can. Yeah.
You just need a surface, and away you go. So
it really just depends on, like we like to say here, you do you.
Yes.
Now, the next thing we want to talk about is, let me put our little agenda back up. We want to talk about needles, choosing the right needles. Oh my goodness. This is, Janice, do you have your needles there? Do you want me to highlight I'm going to highlight your demo board. Okay.
Okay. Let me get
I'm going to highlight your demo board anyway, because it's so pretty.
There are a million zillion needles, right?
Correct.
And you don't need all of them. You only need I want to say, let me put this down here. Oh, that is really.
What happened?
Look at this.
Oh, yeah.
This It looks,
Welcome to my struggle. Welcome to my struggle.
it looks,
People, here, I'll put my,
oh
oh,
my goodness. Let me take,
hang on. I'll do this for the second. People always ask me, "What, Kate, why are you using that leather thing? Why are you using this and that?" And I'm like, because my velvet boards look like what Janice just
yeah,
put in front of the camera.
yeah, yeah. It looks awful. Okay, so I am gonna,
Let me know when you're ready.
right.
I'm just putting some things out here, what to use, what not to use, and I can point at
Okay.
these two in a bit.
So, Kate, will you link flexible eye needles?
Yeah, I sure will.
Okay.
Yeah. And let me know when you're ready.
Because
I'll switch back here.
I think I'm ready.
So the flexible eye that Janice is talking about is it's this one, the flexible eye, and she's going to show it here in just a second. Let
Right.
me highlight you. There you are.
Yeah, I mean, I have it maybe in a different, you can't see this.
And Janice, would you pull your camera out just a hair?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, you have them a little different, but we also carry those as well.
yeah. So take the English seed bead needles and carefully and lovingly tell them this is not your day.
This is not your time.
This is not your day. Take the collapsible eye needles that have this open eye with the little tiny point on it. Take those away and say this is not your day. The same with big eye needles.
Mm-hmm.
What you want, and I really need to get a piece of paper, white paper, to show you. Can you still hear me, Kate?
Yeah, I can hear you. No problem, JP.
So what you want to do is you want a needle. It doesn't have to be this long. You know, it can be shorter, but you want a needle that the eye of it is going to collapse down completely. It is not going to, like these, which have the tip at the top, these will flatten down, but you're always going to have this little bit right up here is always going to be fatter than the rest of the needle.
Mm-hmm.
What you want is you want a needle that when it collapses going through that first pearl, you want this to collapse down so it is no larger than it needs to be, because you're going to put your thread through that, and the thread and this little eye in this needle. Can everyone see that? Or
Yeah, and I'm going to put up, Janice, I have a kind of a close-up, so I'm going to put that up just real quick.
Okay.
See there, folks, you can see that's the needle that Janice has. See that nice round? That's just the little wire. That's what collapses down into the pearl hole.
Mm-hmm. So what you want to do is, once you put the pearls on, and I'm going to take a really small, it's not a really, but I'm going to take a small pearl and I'm going to put this on. I usually have, and I'm not sure where it is today, but I have a gemstone that I keep. It's just, I think, an aquamarine. It's just a little nothing kind of gemstone, really. But I use it at this point. I just put it on, flatten the needle, and then maybe I can get in closer to that.
Let's see.
Maybe I can pick it up so you can also see it. Is that clear enough? There it is. You see that it doesn't even look like a needle, an eye of a needle anymore. It's completely smooth from one to the next. And that is the only kind of needle that's really going to be worth anything. Now, the other way that I also have in my Pearl Studio is the 38 gauge spool of wire.
Yeah, let me grab it. And Janice, so take those bead-along needles. We love the collapsible eye, but
Take this
those are
one.
not the ones. Oh,
No,
you've got the little, let me get the one that we carry now.
okay, this I've had this little.
You
It's
only need to ever buy one.
Yeah, this is like maybe 20 years old. This little spool, and it's there we go, 24 yards, 34 gauge. I think what we sell is 38 gauge
Yeah,
now.
I'm getting it right here. It's exactly the same thing, JP.
Oh,
It's 34 gauge. It's parawire, but instead of being that old school, that super old school, let me show you.
yeah,
I've got it right here. That super old school one, we have the parawire. It's 34 gauge and it's black, but it's
it's black.
exactly the same thing. And my friends, you only ever need to buy one of these. I'll
Right.
put this back on you, JP, so you can show
Okay.
everybody what to
So
do.
the other kind of needle that you want is the needle that you can make yourself.
Which
So,
is such a lifesaver.
yeah. So I can't tell you now when you're going to need this needle, but I can tell you that there's going to come a time when your thread breaks or you need to add something and add a thread. Um, and that's how you do it with this. You make it yourself. So you hold it in one hand, you folded it over, and you could also hold it with a plier, like a flat nose or chain nose plier. And you just keep doing this until it gets as smooth. If you don't even want to buy needles and you want to make your own, just buy a spool of this and you will get good at it. And it's just amazing. So you have to make it as tight as you can
Mm-hmm.
and as smooth as you can. And then I'm going to cut off the ends of it. I am going to, let me go back with another piece of silk.
And JP, how long of a piece of wire? I usually cut about 7 inches because I want to get a nice clean cut.
Mm-hmm.
Is that about right? What do you think?
I think 7, I think even 5.
Sure.
This piece, I've already cut some of it off. Let's see what this piece is.
And you're a little low. There you go. Perfect.
So this piece is, 7. Isn't that what you said?
Yeah.
This, 7 inches is about right.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to take another one of those pearls. Let's take another one of these pearls and the exact same group of pearls. And there you go.
Yeah.
I've
Beautiful.
made my own needle. And if you look at this, if I can get it in, this is the eye of the needle is all ready to here.
Mm-hmm.
So these also work if you need a big eye needle.
Correct.
I'm not going to be able to get, the Ceylon and the silk and the wax linen
Correct.
all through the bead. Make your own needles, ladies and gents.
So let me show you. I'm going to put mine right up here. I want to show you this because it might be just a touch easier to see.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
sorry.
no, you're doing it's perfect. This is the old school way of doing it. And before we were able to get those on a steady basis, those collapsible eye needles, or flexible eye, excuse me, the flexible eye needles, we always had to use this type of wire. Now, there's a couple of questions about using different gauges of wire for this. Now, this is the 34 gauge, so it's super, super thin. Annie is asking, would you use a 28 gauge? You could use what I do, and admittedly, sometimes I can't find my 34 gauge. So I look to see, oh, what do I have? Do I have any 28 gauge? If my beads are big enough, you could go to a thicker gauge of wire, but 9 times out of 10, this is the gauge size that you need to use, if that makes sense. One of the other things this was a little trick to help you get a nice round eye in your needle. I have this little metal, I don't know, whatever it is, a little metal,
Two-hixter.
yeah, a little mandrel here, right? So what I do is I put my thread around that. Make sure that it's metal if you have an old metal knitting needle, not wood. Wood, the wire will bite into it and it'll be hard for you to get it off. But if you have just a little mandrel, okay, and then I start that twist with it, it helps me also make that loop.
Mm-hmm.
It starts my twist there. Now, what you can also do is you can twist, if you had a little bit of a smaller mandrel, it would be a little bit easier. But see here how we do this, and it really gets that tightness up next to it. You can also, I just twist, see how I'm twisting kind of around my finger to get that twist in there? And I want to keep this wire as I'm twisting it fairly taut. Because like what Janice did, remember when she came down and she cut that wire? I'm really going to try and zoom in here so you can see it. You want that wire on your homemade needle not to split at the end. Okay, so see like how right there, it's a nice tight twist. I'll come in and I'll give my cut. Janice, I have to get this closer to my eyes. I had to get the wire as the backbone of jewelry making in here somewhere. But see how now when I slide this off of that mandrel, see the nice hole size I have in there.
Yeah.
But either way, as long as you can get your thread through there, you're golden. You're ready to go.
Yeah, I mean, there are times when I've actually used.
You could also use your awl for that.
I've used like a piece of Softflex doubled over to be a needle because, I just didn't have a needle.
Right.
So we can be creative. Kate, did you post? I'm going to post it now. The 34 gauge.
Yeah. Would you post it? That would be great.
Yes.
And friends, we'll post all of this stuff down below after the video is over. You'll also find them. There'll be links to all of these on the masterclass page as well. So you'll be able to find it. JP, I think, did you get a text on your phone?
Did I about?
I think it went dark or something. So just check it. I'll talk. I'm going to put up.
I had gotten a phone call, I guess.
Yeah. So just put it back up. Let's take a look at our next. So I hope that answers your questions. The flexible eye needle or make your own. Those are the two that you're going to need. Now we're going to get into thread selection, and there's been a lot of thread selection questions that we've gotten. We have questions like, do you not recommend Griffin silk with the needle attached? Margaret is saying silk is a classic thread, but silk will stretch over time. Ceylon doesn't. What size? I've got these pearls. I've had them reknotted, but now I hope to do it myself. What size silk? So there are so many answers to all of these questions. First and foremost, I want to share with you, I'm going to add my screen, share my screen with you here. Give me just a second. I want to go here to our I'll go to flexible eye needles and I'll go from there. Let me show you. Is that going to share? Do you see that? If you don't know this resource from us, I'm going to show you. We're going to scroll up here past this product. We're going to go to learning. Can you see how that's being pulled down? We're going to go to Stittionary. Now, Stittionary here, it's a little outdated. It doesn't have silk. I mean, it's not outdated, but this is a great place to start. It has the Chinese knotting cord. It has the Ceylon. We go down to the Griffin silk. We go to Irish wax linen. So it talks about all of the different threads that we carry and their sizes. I also want to show you this, the Needlepedia. We also talk about some needle basics in there. Now, and I'm going to stop sharing this now, but I just wanted to show you where that was. Now, there's never one answer to which thread should I use. Oh, Janice, take your phone needs to go front like this, so it's landscape. So the answer to that, yep, there you go. Perfect. So, and I'll do this here, right here for now.
Everyone, don't laugh at me. Kate has been teaching me how to do this.
No one's laughing, JP.
Oh, we're laughing together. We're not laughing.
Yeah, no, we're
laughing that you keep teaching me this and I keep forgetting, and then you keep teaching me and then I forget.
Yeah, no, we're all good. And yes, Teresa's asking the 34 gauge wire. It's the 34 gauge, and we carry it right over in beadshopdotcom. If you just go right to wire, you can sort by gauge, click on 34 gauge, and this will come up. Okay. Yeah, there's so many questions. So let's start, JP, with, and we're going to talk about thread, Griffin silk with needle. That's a whole different ball game, and we're going to talk about that. Okay. But
this is like, it's going to take time, everyone.
That's why it's 5 weeks. That's why it's 5 weeks.
It's just,
so
you're going to get it. I know it's a little bit like, learning to ride a bike, but once you get it, you're going to get it. It's just, today's just an overview. So.
It is. Now, what you'll have, this is my go-to. Janice has her go-to, which I'm adding here. We also really like to knot with Ceylon. But Janice, first and foremost, let's talk about the Griffin silk. I'm looking to see, there we go. The silk that we carry, it's 100% silk on the spool.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about that for a second.
Okay.
I'm going to lay them out here.
This was the original silk that was first manufactured in Germany by a company called Gutabrod. And then they sold out to an American company called Champion.
Here's an old, I've got an old Gutabrod, never to be seen again.
Yeah. And then Champion, I'm not sure if where is it saying it's made in China?
Let me see. I'm looking to see on here. This is made in USA. This is, this old one was US made.
Okay. It's now being distributed by the Beadsmith. I'm not sure if they also own the factory.
Yeah, it's Chinese made.
Yeah. But it's still a quality product. It's still silk. I have never fallen in love with it on the cards because I don't think the tension when they are manufacturing and spooling it is the right tension. So the thread never holds together the way it does on the spools. So I think the spools are the same or very similar quality to what I might have from 25 years ago.
Yeah, which I have one. This is an old one. Look at this color, never to be found again.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got old spools.
Yeah.
But as long as you keep them in a cool, dry place,
Look at that
it's
one, remember?
yeah, you're
Tanzania.
just not going to they're not going to go bad. They just don't
Mm-mm.
go bad.
Keep them out of sunlight, so my
Yeah,
friends. Don't store
yeah,
them on your windowsill.
yeah,
Store them. I store mine in kind of just a nice little bin, not in direct sunlight. It's
yeah.
going to last you forever. So we carry a good variety of the silk on the spool. We carry it in some different colors, and we're going to talk about color choices and stuff in a later broadcast. We carry it in size F, which is my fave because I like my knots to be a little bit larger. We also carry it in a size smaller, in a size E. And I just want to double check under stringing materials. It's under, I'll tell you exactly. Let me get it's under spooled silk, and you can sort it by, sorry, it's loading. We carry one size D, we carry a size E, and we carry the size F. The cool thing about carrying the size D, we carry it in white. The cool thing is that silk dyes beautifully. So you can dye, even with like food coloring, you can dye your silk. As long as you heat set it, like with an iron or whatever, you can dye this white silk any color you want. And maybe I should do that with we
Mm-hmm.
should do that on a later one because you can dye this thread any color you want. And this size D is a nicer size for smaller beads. There is no one size fits all thread. There just isn't.
Well, we're also going to talk about if you have a thinner thread, how do you bulk the thinner thread up to fit larger holes? And so
Mm-hmm.
my my favorite thread to pearl knot with is actually KO.
Mm-hmm.
I love all the colors it comes in. I mean, I love silk, but they're just not enough colors for me. And I like KO, and I can knot with KO, and it's strong and supple until the
Are,
cats come home.
are you meaning KOJP or are you meaning Ceylon?
No, KO.
Really? And how many strands of that KO do you use?
Well, usually I will use the thread doubled over and then
Mm-hmm.
another one doubled over.
Mm-hmm.
It would be four thicknesses.
Mm-hmm.
But I could also, and we're going to show everybody during this show, well, you can also do six thicknesses, but you could also do five or you could do three. How do you do three? So, not to overwhelm everybody, but you can use multiple colors of
Yeah.
camo to get
I'm
a
grabbing I'm grabbing some KO because I want to show you. I think this would be a good time to thread some things inside needles, right?
yeah.
Okay, I'm going to grab this KO. I always forget that you like to knot with KO. And
Oh,
you can always also mix your threads
yeah.
as well, too, right?
Yeah.
Let me do this. Hang on. This got a little bit of a tangle. Let me get this. And I want to make sure there's my KO. I want to make sure I've got the correct needles here because I want to show you how these all go together.
Now you could use a thin silk. I know, Kate, you love a big juicy knot.
I
That
do.
is your signature knotting. My knot is much more traditional. I don't want it small. I don't want it big. I'm just like the intermediate bear. I want, or Goldilocks. I want it just right. I want it to separate the pearls so that they don't wear against each other. I want it to enhance the pearls, but I don't necessarily want it to become a design element.
Right. And I have a strand of pearls, JP, that you gave me. Let me clear
Now
this up
let's show everyone
for a
kind of what we're
second.
talking about.
I have a strand of pearls that you gave me. We were having lunch. You were wearing the pearls. You took them off and you
Oh,
gave them to me.
I bet
Um,
that's what was that the strand I was looking for today?
Probably. You gave me this strand, I don't know, 20 years ago. It's this
Oh,
strand.
oh, Kate.
You remember?
Oh, do I?
We were having lunch at that little like Chinese restaurant that was right next door to Beadshop like
Mm-hmm.
20 years ago. And I want to zoom in. This has not been restrung. Janice has strung this. I love these pearls. These are just gorgeous.
They're nice, yeah.
They are nice.
All right.
And for whatever reason, we were having a warm, heartfelt discussion about something. Who knows?
You
And
come back to Beadshop, or
yeah, you
we're
took
not
this,
leaving. Yeah.
or yeah, or have another pot sticker, one of these, one
Yes.
of those. And you took it off and you gave it to me.
Yeah.
Now, this has probably only been strung that one time.
Yes.
Janice's signature coral, right? But see how much smaller her knots are there. Now, this is a strand that I strung for myself out of my pearl vault, and I use some silver pearls. The pearl sizes are similar, right? But I've used a larger silk. The beauty of silk threads are when you string with them, they do compact down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So a size E thread and a size F thread will both probably fit through both of these. But you can see, depending on the size of the knot that you want, that's that's the deciding factor. What thread you choose. I'm going to try and zoom in a little bit more here so you can really see them. Is that pretty clear?
Mm-hmm. Very clear. I can see it.
Yeah.
Those are nice
So
pearls.
Janice is all, wait a minute. What was I doing? What was I thinking? So yeah, I love,
Not at
love,
all.
love,
Not at all.
love these pearls. They're so gorgeous. And again, and we're going to talk about closures and alternate closures and stuff like this. But you can see these are old aquamarine, some other little pearls, things like that. We're going to talk about closures and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, and so this is a good observation, Annie, and I'm going to scoot out a little bit here. So if you do use a thicker thread, just as if you were using, say, instead of a thread, you were using a seed bead in between. If you were using a 10-aught or an 11-aught bead between the pearls or an 8-aught bead between the pearls, you would be using fewer pearls, right? Because the space is bigger in between. So larger thread, it's true, you do use fewer pearls, not that many less pearls, but you do, right? Because it takes up more space, if that makes sense. Now, let me show you this last one here This one is leather. And you might have seen me do this project a while back. And we're going to talk also about alternate stringing materials. We're going to talk about large hold pearls, things like that. This one is knotted on leather because they're large hold pearls. And I really wanted those pearls to shine. So, or those knots to show. So can you see the difference here between all three of these different types? It just depends.
Do you have some of those loose, Kate, that you can show everyone the difference of the hole size?
No, but I can kind of pull this. I can pull this aside. See, there's the hole size.
Okay.
Look at how big that is. And if I use, I mean, if I can even kind of wedge my caliper in there, I would say that this is almost a 2 millimeter sized hole. Yeah, about that. Okay. So let me thread some threads on for you. Janice, what do we want to look at first? Do we want to look at just the size F silk doubled over?
Sure. Sure. Why not?
So usually, and Karen, you're reading my mind right here. When we do this method with a needle and thread, we do double it over. Okay. So here's I've got my flexible eye beading needles. I am using size fine. You can use fine. If your pearls are really small, you can use extra fine. If they're a little bit larger, you could use medium. We also carry them in heavy. Heavy is the size I use the least. I usually use fine and medium needle size for that. So let me open this up. Now I'm just going to make little samples here so
Kate,
you can see it.
Yep. Can you put my table?
Yep. There you are. You're right there. Yeah.
Okay. So I don't need to see my computer, but this is I've already made some of these samples.
Oh, nice. Great.
So I don't know if I have to get in.
Can you yeah, there you go. That looks good.
Does that look really good? Really?
There you go. That looks better.
I don't know why okay. So that's on size F.
Mm-hmm.
These are the same beads on size E.
Love it, JP.
We did this a while back, Katie.
Yeah, we did.
And then this is on size D, but I don't, I didn't do the whole thing because those
push them. They're a little at the bottom of your screen. Just push that paper.
Okay, so I want to just.
There we go. Good.
I want to just. So you go ahead and do your samples, but I wanted to show people. We have looked at this before, and the size F. I think that's more sort of a size you would use. Maybe it's too big down here.
Yeah.
But you would use, let me move these up a little, and then you can go back to size F, size E, and size D. So that it does give you a different size knot. It just does.
And it's nice, Janice, that you shared these samples because this is also a great way to create samples for yourselves. So you've got a visual reference. Okay. I think that's fantastic. Now, with this, so let's say, so we know we've got the size F, we've got the size E, we've got the size D. Let me show you then, and that's all in silk. Let me then show you some things with, I'm going to put this aside, with some Ceylon. We've got the micro here. We've got that KO, which is here and tangling. Let me
you want to get rid of that beetle on needle?
What's that?
The beetle on needle shape? Yeah, we don't want to look at those.
Get it out. Get it out of there. Not that we don't love you, beetle on needle. We do.
Yeah.
Just not for this. Here's the KO. Okay. Here is Ceylon in regular. And I think I've got Ceylon here in fine as well. That's the regular. Is this? That's regular. Where did my fine? The fine Ceylon, it always seems so elusive because I use it so often. This is fine right here. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. So they're different thicknesses, different weights or techs is what they're known as. Now, there was a quick question that I wanted to answer that Linda had, and I just happened to have them here. Then we'll get back to the knots. You can use seed beads in between. See that there? Instead of knots. You could certainly do that. We've done that a lot in the past. So you can, knots, what is really great about knotted pieces is that knots add some strength, some length, and some design elements to your pieces. But the same thing goes for seed beads. Okay? So seed beads, obviously, they're not going to prevent your beads from, coming apart. But let me take away this comment and let me get in a little bit closer here. I have some strands here that have some different seed beads strung in between them. This one is just a mixture of beads that I have an 11-aught in. Okay? This is a size 8 right here. Can you see the difference? This is a size 11, but there are 3 beads in between to give it a little more space, kind of like a float. And this one, I love this one. This one is also, it's that antique silver matte seed bead, and it really matches the color of that pearl. So this has a very traditional monochromatic look to it. Okay. Does that make sense? So let me get these all out of the way. But for safety's sake, a lot of times that's when, for safety and design elements, this is a precious strand of Tahitian pearls that I bought myself as a gift. You remember when we were doing the single Tahitians, and we'll do that again because I know you folks love those so much. These Tahitians, something like this, I definitely want to string. Because if each of these beads are, very expensive, bead by bead. So I'd want these knotted just for safety's sake as well. Okay. Whoops, sorry, I didn't mean to hit the thing. So, Janice, let me double over. Let's talk about this KO.
Yes, let's do that.
Yeah. So what's the story?
The story is it's my favorite thread.
I'm going to cut one strand.
Okay.
I'm going to put it through this collapsible or flexible eye beading needle.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's our single. Okay.
Well, that's your double.
Right. My single strand that's doubled. Correct.
Okay. You're doing exactly correct. You're putting a knot in the end. I want you to just go through it once, though.
Okay. Got it.
Twice. I want you to just go through it once, tighten it, and now I want you to put a pearl on.
Okay. Hold, please. Let me grab my pearls. They're right down here, where my secret pearl stash is.
And for this, you'd have to pick a pretty small pearl.
Yeah, I got that.
We wouldn't start this small if you were using larger pearls.
Hang on. I got
the KO is finer than micro Ceylon by a bit.
What about that size, Janice?
You could, yeah, sure.
I'll try that. I wish you could see what I'm rifling through, but that'll work out. That works out. Okay. Sorry, little bending over. Got up a little too quick. Okay, so here's this size. Let me measure these with my caliper so you folks know what this is. I'm going to cut in between. I'm going to pull one of these off. These are out of my personal stash. We have, I know we promised you some pearls, and those pearls are still coming. I actually spoke with our pearl vendor. He's in Tucson right now, but we have an appointment to chat when he's done. So, I miss next year, Tucson, next year. This is from hole to hole. It's about 4.5 millimeters or so. So now we're just going to put it on this double strand of KO and see what it looks like.
And take it all the way down to the end.
To the knot. Okay.
And can it go over the knot?
And so this one does.
Okay, so it's not enough.
Over.
Okay, so I'd like you to open your, you can cut that little knot off and open your needle eye a little bit with a tweezer or an awl. And then put on a double strand, another strand, and do a single knot at the end.
Okay. So here's my KO right here. I'm going to get my second strand. And these are just short little pieces, friends. You would cut more, obviously, if this were going to be a real necklace. But I've opened that eye of the needle with the tweezers. I'm coming through. I'm going to equal everything out here at the bottom. And I'm going to tie that single knot, JP, right here?
Yes. The double knot will give you a false sense of security unless you're a skilled knotter that can put a double knot right where you want it. So,
okay, so there we are.
Just okay, now try the same pearl.
Okay. Put this on.
And yank on it. Is it coming off?
No.
Okay, so take that pearl off and just try another one randomly, just to make sure that it's not an anomaly, that one pearl has a smaller hole than all the other pearls on the planet.
Looks the same.
Okay. Okay, so you now know that 4 strands of KO will work with this pearl. So you didn't have to buy size A, B, C, and D silk to see which one works. You could buy just the A silk or the D silk and double it over and just use more silk.
Yeah, multiple strands.
Right. You just don't want to use any of these threads knotted on a single thread. Like
right, we always want it at least doubled.
Yeah, you can do a single thread with the needle attached. That is a different type of thread. It's like
different story.
But it's like the cables on a bridge. You do not want just one cable on that Golden Gate Bridge. You want multiple cables. Okay, so did you knot that?
I did. Let me show you.
Hold on, sister.
Okay, what? What? I just wanted to do a little knotting. Okay, what's next? You tell me.
Well, if you're going to show us how to knot, stop long enough for us to show us. Don't just.
No, I just want you to see these knots together. I'm going to show you this, but I want these knots so everybody can see the size of these knots. So everybody just cool your jets, everyone. Cool
So
those.
I consider that a nice size.
Yeah,
It's
I like
not
that
too
size.
big. Maybe the knot is a little elongated because of the kind of thread it is. Maybe if you want to try it on.
I'm going to look at what a double strand of micro looks like with this same pearl.
Okay.
Okay. You
Yes.
good with that?
I have a hunch that when you do it double, it needs to be just a little bit thicker.
Well, let's take a look.
Okay.
Here's my Ceylon micro.
Right.
Okay. I'm going to get the same needle.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do this single through. We're only, for this exercise sake, we're only tying a single knot at the bottom.
Right.
Because there are times when I double knot, but we'll get to that. I tighten it down to make sure the knot is nice and compact.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm going to try one of these same 4.5 millimeter beads. Going through, pulling it on, and see, this really shows in action how when you pull on that pearl, how the eye of that needle collapses down. And let's pull. And see, that one holds. That double strand, I do, honestly, a lot of where you like to use this KO as kind of your skinny thread.
Mm-hmm.
I like using this micro Ceylon
a
lot.
Yeah.
Let me just do 3. We're going to show you the actual knotting process, my friends. We're going to do that in the next couple of weeks. But this is all about threads and the needles and the basics. So just bear with me here just a second. This is a short piece of thread, so it's hard to do without tools. But one of the main reasons we do this, okay, because when we knot with 2 threads is we're able to separate those threads and give it just a tiny tug to compact that thread down and neaten that knot. Another very good question, let me focus this, is, and Nikki had that question, of course, at the beginning, would you put a clamshell on or a bullion wire? And the answer is, of course, yes. This is just to test.
The other thing, we had an earlier question, Kate, was do we pre-stretch the thread? And I think you just answered it by saying after each knot, we gently pull the threads to tighten the knot. And that's where the pre-stretching comes in.
Correct. And so here are the micro Ceylon doubled and the KO 4-strand. Let me get in there. Hang on. Tighten in. Okay. So similar effect. But I like this. I don't usually knot with this KO, Janice. That's great.
Is the knot too small with the KO?
No, I don't think so. It's a little smaller than this, but especially if you like knots that are a little smaller, it's not a bad choice. Now, if we were to pop up our bead choice and say we were using, instead of these 4.5 millimeters, maybe we were using 5 millimeter, 6 millimeter, 7, 8 millimeter pearls, the KO might not be the right choice because the bead holes are going to be a little bit larger Right? Like I would, like if it's this size bead, we might pop up a size.
I'd use maybe a fine weight Ceylon if
Yeah.
it didn't have the silk.
Yeah. Fine weight. And you'd have to test.
Mm-hmm.
Again, this 2 strands of micro may work.
Mm-hmm.
There is there was a question back here from Annie who says, if you didn't want to double the thread, would you use the fine Ceylon? So Annie, I'm going to toss a question back to you. Why wouldn't you want to double? Is it because you want to see that thread floating? When I string like this, I always have at least a double thread because, as Janice said, you want like those girders on the bridge. You want multiple plies of thread holding these beads together. If you want to float and have a single thread, that's a whole different ball of wax that we're going to cover on a later show.
Yeah.
Let me show, here's the fine weight now.
Mm-hmm.
Let me cut a piece of this. I'm going to need a pearl that's a little bit bigger. I just am. Heavy sigh from Miranda. Heavy sigh from Miranda across the room. Let me give you, let me pull together. Oh, I know. I'm just teasing you. Let me grab a couple of these big Baroque pearls. Because sometimes, even if the pearl is large, the hole is still small. Remember what Janice was saying about how the most semi-precious of stones, like when you go to buy like diamonds or rubies or whatever in bead form, the hole is so small. So let's take a look. This hole is a lot bigger. So let's double this over. And then we're going to talk about, Janice, very quickly about end tips and bullion wire. And
right.
What's that? Yeah, we're going to talk about this. We're going to do them. We're going to show you how to use them specifically with the doubled and singled threads in the next 2 episodes, I promise you. So hang on. I'll go over the next episodes too. I'll show you where to find it because we can't give you all this learning in one show. Number one, your brains would be mush and our brains would be mush. So we're just going to take this step by step by step. So don't worry, my friends. We won't leave you hanging. And if you have specific questions about it, just email us at info@beadshop and we'll make sure that we cover them in a future show. But see here's that fine. There's my single knot.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. I'm going to slide this on. See how that slides on nicely? And there's the knot. Let me
really pull on it. I don't think it'll come through, but just really. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So here it is. I'm going to tie another one, double with the fine Ceylon. Tighten it. Just a slight tug, not like, and let's put on another one.
Well, we even have a cure if you pull too tightly and you break one of your threads, what to do.
We're going to show you how to mend a broken thread mid-stringing.
Yes.
But see, yeah.
I need to watch that.
Yeah, you do. So here, can you see? Let me put one more on here. So here are 3 of these large Baroque pearls on 2 strands of Ceylon. And I know that you folks have a bunch of threads at home. If you don't, sorry, I was out of frame. If you don't, get your, you can find all of the threads right here. We have them linked, all of that good stuff. so you can buy like one spool of each, give yourself a little test to see what you like with the pearls that you like, but see the difference there between like that tiny, tiny pearl on the 2 double over strands of KO. Here it is on the 2 doubled strands of micro, 2 double strands of fine, right? If you're picking up a silk and want to play around with it, get yourself a spool of F and get yourself a spool of E. I don't know where my E went, but those are both F. We're going to play around with the different, the F, the E is, it's kind of in between these two, and the F is kind of on this side here. Wouldn't you say, JP?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Kim, that's a great question. I've got that list made for you already. Let me go to, hang on, shop by technique. We're going to go to pearl knotting basics. And there's a bunch right over here. And we will also list everything with a link down below in the description. Okay. But for now, you can see if you go under shop. So let me add my screen back in and let's go around the website just for a second so you kind of know where everything is. Share my screen. Hang on, let me find the right screen to share. There's my pearl knotting basics. So there we are. Okay, so I'm on this pearl knotting basics page, and you can see we've got all of the pearls listed. We've got some of the pearl clasps. We've got some of the thread with the needle already attached. We've got some clamshell end tips. We've got the bullion, and we've got the flexible eye needles down there. We also have the knotting tweezers and the awl. You know what I need to add to this page, Janice, and I will right afterwards. We need to add the GS Hypo Cement, but that's, we'll do that.
Okay, I'm going to put that on the list.
I also wanted to show you folks over here under our learning where we went to that. If we go under learning and we scroll down, you can see the Needlepedias there, the list for master classes. And if we go down here to archive projects, we've got that great tin cup necklace that is with the single strand of the Gouda bra, the silk with needle. You can download the PDF there, and you can also go to, and I've linked it, but I want to show you one more time. One on the gem knotting that Janice has written, one on how to make a micro float that Janice has written, and of course we go to our tried and true old school pearl knotting handout that we used to use in our brick and mortar stores. And it's right there. It gives you the studio essentials, but if you download that PDF, it'll all be there for you. We'll link all of this in the description of the video as well.
And that's when we walked 5 miles a day in the snow, right?
We did, to and from work.
Yes.
And my friends, I also wanted to mention, so let's take a quick look. Janice, do you have your end tips and things there? I've got mine too.
I do. Are you, we don't want to save this for next time?
Well, I just want to, so that people can see them.
Okay.
The end tip and the bullion wire, we're going to use them next time very specifically on the 2 different types that we use, but we've got our end tips here. Do you want me to highlight your camera right there, JP?
Sure.
just so that we don't leave you hanging about, well, what are those? We're going to do that next time.
Endtips are the tips that are used at the beginning and the end of a necklace. And they, you may have heard me say at some point in my career, which spans restringing people's necklaces for close to 60 years, when my mother had her little shop, and I used to work for her, that the only place that never failed, never broke, was, and I really would love to get this nice and focused, and I'm not. Anyway, Kate, everyone, leap of faith. Kate will put the links in, but this was the original. This is an end tip. This is the classic end tip. This is a clamshell end tip.
Mm-hmm.
Has a hole right at the bottom, and your thread goes through this way, and then you close these two, and then the loop goes over. I prefer this one. This is the one.
Yeah, I'm going to show you, Janice. I'm going to move to my camera right here just so you folks can see it. This is that clamshell. Let me show you on that original necklace that Janice made for me for herself and gave to me all those years ago. So you can see the difference, okay? Here is that little cup, what we call the cup end tip. Here's the clamshell. The clamshell holds the knot between these clamshells. The cup holds the knot in the cup, okay? And then the French wire is like a tiny little coiled. I'm going to zoom in so you can see that.
Slinky.
It's like a little slinky, exactly.
Did I use it on that?
You didn't.
Okay.
And so the French wire, and we're going to talk about how to cut it. Miranda, will you grab me a little package of French wire? I'm not going to open it. I just want to show you folks what it looks like. It doesn't matter. But these three are kind of the basics. I use this clamshell one a lot when I use heavier threads. When I'm using finer threads, that's when I'll use this cup. And then can you see here, here's the French wire. You can see it's like a little coiled slinky, like Janice is saying. We're going to show you. That. Emily has shown us how to make our own French wire using heavier gauged wire. She's shown us how to do that. I'm trying to see if I have a project here with it, but we'll also link that down below. You can make it with heavier wire. It works real well. So these are the ones that we're going to be looking at with each method. Let me share my screen one more time, and we're going to go to the masterclass page, and you can see the schedule of all of the, let me make sure that's up there, of all the upcoming classes that we're going to have, okay? So this one, bear with me here just a second. Let me go here. So this is the February to June schedule. This is the one today. The last thing we're going to talk about is cutting apart a necklace. We're going to cut these little bits apart just so that we're all on the same page so you don't get your thread stuck in there. But today was essential tools and materials. On March 5th, next month, we're going to do knotting with spooled silk. And then on April 2nd, that episode, we're going to knot with silk with needle attached. Then on May 7th, we're going to do the adding and changing threads extravaganza. And then on June 4th, our final episode, we're going to do some advanced techniques. And you'll find that schedule all under masterclasses under pearl knotting. Okay, and I'm going to just put that right there. Okay. So you can mark your calendars for each one of those. Now, Janice, I'm going to cut these pearls apart and you talk me through it. Okay.
Okay, so you want to use, and I've learned the hard way with this, you want to use a flush cutter.
Yes.
You don't want to use scissors. You want I like the yellow flush cutter. That's something that I just always use. And you want to get your flush cutter between the pearl and the knot. You open it up, and you wiggle. You wiggle the yes. And I would do that first one. So turn the pearls around, Kate, in your hand. You've got that one right there. Pull the one away, and there's that first knot. And I would turn your plier around.
I'm going to get this really as close as I can here. There we go. So the flat side of the plier, my friends, is up next to the pearl. Correct, JP?
Yes. And you're going to put it underneath that knot. And very gently, without closing it, you're going to pull the knot away from the pearl. Just sort of wiggle it back and forth a little bit until you feel you have the whole thing. Okay. And then cut.
And if you'll notice that little wiggling and everything, see how the knot is clean? There's no little bit of knot left here, and I can very easily pull that off.
And now do the same here. Underneath, wiggle it away, and then cut. There you go.
Okay. Now, I have a story about this, and this is why I want to make sure that all of you folks understand how to cut pearls away as well as to knot them, how to undo them and knot them. We, when we had our store, our brick and mortar, our Palo Alto store, I had just started working there. I was very young. A lady brought in a beautiful strand. I think it was amethyst to reknot. And you know me, how I jump in and I'm like, I'm going to jump into the deep end of the pool. I'm not going to even look. Well, I started to cut her beads away, her pearls, her amethysts apart. I did not slice between the knot and the bead. So I left a little bit of knot residue, and as I pulled that amethyst off of the strand, the knot got stuck in the hole of the bead.
Yep.
Now, there is no power on the face of this earth that will get that knot out from the middle of this bead hole. You can try and re-drill it. It doesn't really work. That amethyst is too dear. So we had to fit her. We had to make the ends a little bit longer with some nice little closures, but I will never forget that mistake that I made. So don't, yeah. Terry's like, leap first, make a plan later. Horrible system. And so that really, really taught me. So when you're cutting your necklace away, it's just as important as stringing it, because you want to be able to, especially if you're restoring, you want to be able to use every single one of these. And you think, you know what? I'm just going to pull that knot through and it's going to unfurl and it's going to come through the hole. It won't. It won't.
Yeah, when you're pulling gently on that thread, if you feel any resistance, this is not a time where praying helps. Stop, because you may have left most of the knot on the outside.
Yeah.
Put it down for a second, take a deep breath, and then look at what source the problem.
Yeah. So even when like those knots were really big, here's my little strand that I've got here. Okay. What I do here, I'm going to kind of pull that thread away, but I inch my that little wiggle of inching your cutters in without cutting, pulling it away, then pull and cut at the same time.
Mm.
See, there's no knot there left. No knot left. So that's the motion. Get those flush cutters, get it right underneath, and just don't, with aplomb, come in and slide them away. Slide it underneath, wiggle, pull, and then cut.
Yeah.
Trust me. Then, so that's why I really wanted to make sure that you folks saw this, because that is a common problem. And then people come to me with this bead and go, how do I get this thread out of the hole of this bead? And I say, this is now a very tiny little paperweight. It's no longer a bead.
Mm-hmm.
Gave me a little PTSD thinking about that. That was fun. So Janice, I think that brings us to the end of our first Pearl Master class.
Right. And I want to tell everybody that we are going to do our best to have everything restocked before the next show, so that that we'll have all the boards and all of the threads and all the silk and the needles and everything, because that's really important. So
yeah,
we've just been your patience.
We really appreciate it. We so appreciate your patience in these times. And do remember, my friends, if you make an order today, if you're watching us live, it is February 5th, 2025. You make an order on beadshopdotcom and add pearls in the order notes. I have made these little bags, these nice little bags of a pair of Baroque pearls from my pearl collection, and a little set of ear wires, just like the earrings. All you have to do is add the head pin. You can make yourself a little set of earrings like me. Have you already made an order today before the show or during the show and you didn't put pearls in? No problem. Just shoot us an email over at info@beadshop.com. I'll add pearls to that order in the order notes, so you get your little package. And do remember, my friends, that order is valid today only to our viewers who are watching us either live today or on replay today while supplies last. But I'm pretty sure that everyone makes an order and that puts pearls in their notes will get one. Okay. So my friend JP, that was super fun. Thanks for doing a master class.
I'm excited.
I can't wait till next month. Do note, I'm going to cover your lovely face here for just a second, JP.
That's fine.
And say, don't forget, my friends, you can find us everywhere that social is, on Facebook, Insta, Pinterest. Hit that like and subscribe and notification button on YouTube. Your social shares and getting the word out about what we do here at beadshop.com is indispensable, not only for us, but our brothers and sisters in arms who also have small businesses and who are in the bead business. We really, really appreciate your support. It's tough for small businesses now. And we appreciate that you're always there for us. Anything that you make with Bead Shop products or projects, give us a shout out on social at beadshop.com. And of course, we are always on the other side of the email of your computer at info@beadshop.com. Don't hesitate to reach out, and we will get back to you and continue that fantastic level of customer service that you have been so used to from us here at Bead Shop. I don't know if there's any final questions or comments, but I will see you folks on Friday for Free Tip Friday. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. Anything else, JP?
We're just going to share your love with Drea, Claire, and Ellen, and to everyone out there. We're very grateful that we have you in our lives. So, and by the time we're done with this, Kate, we're going to take a vote. Is it wire or is it thread?
Oh, gosh. I'm going to have to start sending out emails. Vote for Wire, vote for Wire. But
You're going to have to. You're going to have to.
I'm going to have to.
Yeah.
That's right. And I'm not, and thank you. Folks have been asking if I'm in Tucson. I'm doing Tucson remotely this year. I've got some fun Tucson finds that I'm going to be putting up for you in the next week to 2 weeks. So you'll see that. We've just been so busy here. It has not been possible for me to get away and go to Tucson. But next year, I will be there with bells on. I see all of you over there having such a great time, and I'm so jealous, but next year for sure. All right, everybody. Thank you again so much. It was a great start to our masterclass series, and I will see you Friday for Free Tip Friday. Thanks so much, all. Talk to you soon.
Bye, everyone.